Let's go. We finally have our first college football playoff rankings. Alabama at number 2. The world is melting down because Cincinnati's not in the top 4. We're going to talk about that. How about Mel Tucker and his Michigan State Spartans at number 3? A lot of you want Mel Tucker as the next head coach at LSU. I wouldn't be opposed. Lane Kiffin, also a potential candidate. And that is the big poll question. I want to ask you that question in the poll right now. Do you prefer Lane Kiffin or do you prefer Mel Tucker? Also, on tonight's live stream, PHL went viral on Twitter. I've never understood Twitter. I spend so much time on it. I love it. But I don't have a big following on there. In fact, my YouTube following is double the amount of Twitter. Okay? This is all I care about. But we went viral on Twitter yesterday because Ed Orgeron said something pretty crazy and no one tweeted out the clip. We tweet the clip out. It goes wild. I still can't believe Ed Orgeron said what he said. We're going to talk about that as we welcome in Cliff, the president of PHL. Tough choice, but I'll go with Tucker. Hey, Paris. Blanche, what's good? Mel is not coming. What's up, fellas? Let's go. Jared, Shib to the moon. PHL dudes, let's go get those super chats in. So, we'll talk about Byron Leftwick. I want him so bad. Pause. You know what's funny, Max? When I think of Byron Leftwick at Marshall, I actually do get a little warm inside. I really do. That's how much I freaking loved watching him. I was young when I saw freaking Byron Leftwick. For those that don't know, when he was at Marshall, he got seriously injured in the game and he still played, and his offensive lineman had to carry him down the field because he was playing on a broken ankle or like a really bad sprained ankle. If LSU had that type of toughness, I'll tell you that Byron Leftwick would make our program a lot tougher. But yeah, I think Byron Leftwick will be the next head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As Bruce Arians will probably retire in the next 2 or 3 years. But yeah, Cliff, the floor is yours. You get to pick the question. We'll talk about Mel Tucker. I'm totally down to talk. Mel is the potential next head coach at LSU. Sam Spiegelman reported earlier today that his sources say that Mel Tucker is gaining some steam with the powers at B, which I'll say this, normally with these head coaching searches, those that do have power in the LSU program probably do move the needle at LSU, but they probably don't have as much say as to who the next coach will be than they probably think they do. I think Scott Woodward is going to keep this search really, really, really tight. So yeah, man, I'm pretty fired up about tonight. All I could do is laugh, guys. I really can't. Coach Smith says Mel Tucker. I'm totally down with it as well. And as many of you know, tonight isn't just going to be the next head coach at LSU chatter. We're going to talk about Alabama. We're going to talk about their great offense, Jameson Williams and Bryce Young and Brian Robinson, Evan Neal, and defensively, Will Anderson. The list goes on and on. What's up, Mick? Good to see you. Let's do another check-in with some others. What's up, Branson? Good to see you, man. Being in LA when Lane was at SC, defense got short attention and slipped badly. Not John L. Smith. Let's see. Is Mel now your number 1 or number 2 guy after this weekend? I'll tell you this. He is in my top 5 because the more I thought about it, the more I began to fade James Franklin. The more I thought about it, the more I still do have Lane slightly ahead of Mel Tucker on my list, simply because offense is so much more important than defense. But I will say Lane did not do a good job of coaching against Auburn this past weekend, and it's not just the fourth down decision making. There would have been a few things I would have done differently in that game. And yeah, I still think Lane is a big time candidate. The Gums are feeling pretty solid right now, Mick. And this is another good point right here by Bruce. Mel is going to cost a lot more than Lane Kiffin, right? There's not going to be as many people that want Lane Kiffin to run their program as there will be Mel Tucker, right? And Michigan State's pockets are pretty deep. They're deeper than Ole Miss's pockets. I have that on pretty good authority, right? So yeah, I am doing better. Thank you guys so much for reaching out. Still a little sore, and for those that don't know, we were supposed to actually do this live stream at 8:30 because I do some college basketball stuff. Some announcing for college basketball, but my game got canceled tonight, and because half the team was in quarantine. So I do want to say this from the get-go. On Saturday, we're going to be experimenting with something new. I am just doing a pre-game show on Saturday. Okay, so just a pre-game show. No halftime, no post game. We might do a super late post game because I am booked to do an event on Saturday, and I just could not turn down the money. But I'm just being honest with you. So on Saturday, we are just doing a pregame live stream. I like the fight in Michigan State after they get down 17 to Michigan. That's a sign they believe in the system and the coach. Yeah, it's true. They gave up a big 80-plus. They did give up a huge 80-yard play early in that game, right? And Mel did some really good things to not allow that to happen again because Michigan did have more talent. They were faster. They were more physical. Michigan has a better defensive line. Michigan has arguably a better quarterback. Michigan has, just to me, a more talented team. But Michigan State, of course, had the best player on the field and Kenneth Walker, and they had the better coach. Jim Harbaugh, games are always going to be closer than they need to be. And that's why I had Michigan State +4. So yeah. Let me see. Did I miss your question, Cliff? I know I missed your question. Okay, so great question here. What would you fix first right now, O-line or defensive scheme? Good question, right? So, there was a viewer who actually commented on my video yesterday about typical LSU fans not thinking anything about the offensive side of the ball, when on Friday I said explicitly in my Lincoln Riley video that the bigger issue is the the offensive side of the ball, right? We won our national championship and had our greatest team of all time in Dave Aranda's worst year, right? So offense moves the needle and is far more important than your defensive side of the ball. With that said, while LSU's offense is not championship caliber, their offensive line's not championship caliber, their offensive scheme is not championship caliber, their play calling is not championship caliber. The people that are between the headsets at LSU right now, this is probably the worst head coach OC-DC combination we've had in the modern era, and I'm not sure if it's close. I do think, I really do mean this from the bottom of my heart, I do think the defensive issues can be easily fixed. I really do think so, right? Which is why I'm so infuriated by what Ed Orgeron said this weekend, right? The thing that really pissed me off, and this really did piss me off, right? What really bothered me was the idea that Ed Orgeron can't put in new defensive schemes, right? I'm here to tell you this right now, okay? Players at the college football level are not and never have been stupid, okay? They're not dumb. Now, college football players and college students do stupid things, but they're not dumb. They can learn zone coverages. It is not as complicated as one would make it to be, right? Now, some players can't grasp zone concepts, but 90% of them can. It is not hard. In fact, man-to-man principles can be more confusing sometimes than zone principles. So the excuse that, well, LSU can't play zone defense is stupid because we did it the entire game versus Mississippi State. It doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical, some of the excuses you've heard. So, yeah, I think the defensive scheme is the bigger issue, but I also think it's an easier fix. I think the offensive issues, it's not as serious as how bad LSU's defensive issues are right now, Cliff. But at the same time, it is going to be a tougher, while at the same time more important fix. So we'll see. We really need an offensive mind like Kiffin, but I think Mel will build the better program over time. I do agree with that. As far as the button-up nature of Mel Tucker compared to the erratic nature of Lane Kiffin, it seems as if he is easily distracted by things that are not really all that important. Jared, thank you for the super chat. And Black OT, shout out to you and D. I said this before the live stream. You guys, I like it when I see photos like Mick. I like it when I see photos like Creek Dweller. I like it when I see photos like Black Goatee and D. I love actual photos, okay? Now, I love you, Poe. I love every single one of you that just has a random letter. But I love seeing your faces. I know that sounds stupid, but I really do. I want to see your face or I want to see your dog, okay? Cliff has an actual photo of him. Jared has a photo of, this is his grandchild with an LSU hat, which, by the way, congratulations. Jared had a gender reveal party this weekend, and he will be a granddad to a daughter. Congratulations, Jared. No, this is cool. It's your crawfish company. I don't mind that. I don't mind the letters because you're a viewer. I don't really care. But I take that back. I do care because I want to see your beautiful faces. I want to see something that represents you. Okay. Like Creek has a cute little puppy. Okay. And Black Goatee and D, who watch every live stream, this is just great. Look, they got the matching custom Joe Burrow uniforms. I love it. I've talked about them a lot. And yeah. So Black OT, I agree with you. I think just based off this weekend, I'll tell you this, even though I'm still a Lane over Mel guy, Lane had about as bad of a weekend as he could have had, and Mel Tucker had about as good of a weekend he could have had, right? And Mel's big time. He really is. But here's the thing that's really interesting, right? Take my word for it. I'm gorgeous. Branson says my profile pic represents me. Huh? Blanche, I want to know who this is. All right. Is that really you, Blanche? I'm really curious. Aranda also had a great weekend as well. Blanche, I know your number one candidate is Dave Aranda. I like Dave Aranda a lot too. I really do. I would not mind Dave Aranda coming back. By the way, Dave Aranda did have a viral clip this weekend of him bootlegging Hotmail Gary Patterson videos. That's great, man. The only thing Dave Aranda needed to say after that was, after bootlegging videos on Hotmail, the next thing he needs to do is get a LimeWire link. Who remembers LimeWire? Who remembers Napster? Where are my Napster? Is that Joan Crawford? Is that Joan Crawford? That's so cool. Someone said the buyout for Lincoln Riley is $25 million. So what? Pay it. Get them. I can't say this enough, right? The number one most important, I will take Lincoln Riley over any coach in the sport right now to run a program for the next 10 years. I cannot tell you how ridiculous it is that Bear Share, Frostwire, KO, is that Times Square, New York City? What is Frostwire? Frostwire just sounds bad. Frostwire sounds like I don't know. It sounds like Frostwire sounds like Alaskan 4chan. Like that just sounds bad. Huh? Sure is, bro. I love it. Buyout for Jimbo is $0. It's true. What is Bear Share? Hey, Lewis, how you doing? My Instagram DMs. Branson? You know it goes down in the DMs, man. Yeah, I'll check it out. Let's see. Napier, Tucker, Aranda all seem to be program builders and are my top 3 choices. I wouldn't mind any of it. You understand if you get Billy Napier, it's going to be the most affordable hire, and it's also going to be someone that's been waiting for his big opportunity. Jared said grinder. Oh, wait. You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. Man. Noah, welcome. I believe Mel is what we need for the long term of the program. Lane could make us a powerhouse, but for how long? Everyone say no to Jimbo about LSU. He could be great. He wants the job. Oh, happy birthday to Big Al's wife, who's been having some health issues. Big Al, you know, we're a community here. Thoughts out to you. Joan Crawford from what happened. So, you know what's funny? My mom told me when I was young, like how big of a star Joan Crawford was. I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing about Joan Crawford other than that. Okay, so Mick, this is a way oversimplification. How many national championships has Bama won with a defensive head coach? How many has Oklahoma won with an offensive head coach? Judging coaches being good or not based on national championships is a way. Okay, so Nick Saban's the greatest coach of all time. No one's disagreeing with that. But when you're pointing out head coaches, it is a very small sample. Okay. I was discussing this recently with Mick. Mick, someone called me the other day. I hadn't talked to this person for a very long time. And they were like, Carter, well, what's the key to finding, the next great national championship head coach? And the answer to this, Mick, is, well, there is no key, right? It's all random. Okay. Let me ask you this question, Mick. And this is a great question. Wherever you're watching this today, whether you're watching this on a replay, whether you're watching this live now, welcome in. We're about 20 minutes into it. We're going to have a fun live stream today. And I want you to really sit and think about this, right? How many coaches, here's simple truth. How many national championship coaches since 2010, okay, have turned out to be good coaches? I'm dead serious. Think about that. Or let's go even further back, since 2007. Think about the coaches that have actually won national championships, right? And when you really sit down and think about it, there have been as many coaches who aren't all that great that have won national championships as there are coaches who are actually great, right? So think about the national championship head coaches since 2007, okay? You had Les Miles, got Gene Chizik, you got Ed Orgeron. So there are plenty of coaches that can find their way into a national championship, right? So just because Ed Orgeron won a national championship doesn't mean he is a better coach than Lincoln Riley, or Gene Chizik is a better coach than anyone, really. So, you can't judge great coaches just based on national championships, because then that is just a select few, right? Dabo and Nick, that's it. But how many legendary coaches are there? And that's the thing. It's random. It's totally random. It's totally random. No one thought Dabo Swinney would turn out to be one of the best coaches ever in the sport. I'm not. But my point is, just because a coach wins a national championship doesn't mean they're a great coach, right? Some coaches that do win national championships actually are good coaches, like Jimbo Fisher. But there are some who just aren't, right? Zay, what's good? Huh? So Zay has been the leader of the anti-Max Johnson movement, and I have to give Zay a lot of credit. Zay, you've been on this since the start of the season, right? And you've not budged, and you've been right? Yeah, Mel did a really good job this weekend. He really did. So yeah. Let's see here. I'm the lieutenant of the anti-Max Johnson movement. Huh? Lewis changed his photo. I like it. So Lewis actually put into action my question tonight is, why don't you guys have photos? Right. I like the photos. It's like a good photo. You and your dog, you with your significant other, whoever it may be. This is a good one, man. You got the sunglasses on. I like Lewis's sunglasses, just the pure black glasses. I mean, this is Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Men in Black type of glasses. I love it, man. Max won't leave if his brother comes. It's interesting because Jake Johnson and Walker Howard have a really good relationship. Jared super chatted earlier. Let's talk a little bit about Dave Aranda, right? I like Dave Aranda a lot. I felt as if the struggles of the 2019 defense were oversold, right? I think the 2019 LSU defense was really good. In particular, at the end of the season, they had one glaring weakness, which was true road games, right? But even then, in those true road games, they were really banged up against Ole Miss. They had to play a back-to-back road game, which can be really brutal on SEC defenses. And they gave you one really freaking good half against Alabama. And that was by far Alabama's best offense. But I mean, by far. Outside of course, their 2020 unit. But even then, you could make a case that the 2019 Bama offense was better than the 2020 Bama offense. You can make a case. Dave was really good in 2019, right? The defense wasn't elite, but they were really good, right? They had a bad game against Texas, second game of the season, right? But overall, Dave Aranda really did some smart things to that defense. And what essentially happened was at the end of the season, Dave Aranda started subbing out his defensive linemen for faster players, right? Especially on third and long situations. And he did a really good job of that. And he kept experimenting. And let's be honest, at the end of 2019, the LSU defense was arguably the best in the country. They were really good. Like, they shut down Clemson. They shut down Oklahoma, which, by the way, had 2 NFL starters at quarterback. And they shut the heck out of a decent Texas A&M team. So Dave Aranda finally figured a few things out with this defense. And he was really good. Now, he did benefit from having some soft matchups, but overall he was really, really, really good. Van, what's good, Van Lathan? Good to see you, man. You know what? And this is just how I feel about Dave Aranda as well. Is we're talking about a true football grinder, a guy who owes LSU a lot, giving him his first big payday. Now he was a DC at Wisconsin, and there's some people at LSU that really enjoy Dave Aranda. A guy who's just going to go in and just do football, right? There's no extracurricular stuff with Dave Aranda. There's no off the field issues with Dave Aranda. This is key as well, Big Al. And I forgot to mention how great he was versus a really talented Georgia team, right? Now, he had really good players. He had 2 5-star corners and a 5-star and a Thorpe Award at safety. But he was just good. He finally started to figure out that Kerry Vincent should be on the field more. And the LSU defense started playing better. And Dave had to really experiment because, they at the end of the Texas game, they kept doing the same thing that wasn't working. They kept going 4 down linemen and being a little predictable with their rush. Whereas at the end of the 2019 season, we just got faster. We put Marcel Brooks on the field. This is going to sound strange, but Damon Clark's best position is kind of a roaming outside linebacker pass rusher. He was kind of a thicker chase-on player. And he's been good doing what he's doing this year. But it's very interesting. So yeah, I'm all about Dave Aranda. I really am. Let's see. Bruce, this is interesting. Woodward needs to make the hire the weekend after the regular season, especially with USC and maybe Florida and Penn State available. Yes. All 3 of these are top 20 jobs. So yeah, I do agree with you, Bruce. Jared changed his photo. That's perfect. The only thing that would have been better is if your shirt said RTWFU, which kind of sucks, right? And you know what's funny about that, Jared? I go back to, and Van, by the way, you were the last super chatter. You get to pick the next topic, Van. Just let me know anything you want to talk about. And but yeah, you know what's funny is I hate that the Roll Tide What FU is just an Orgeron thing, and we're gonna have to kind of retire it now. I thought when Ed Orgeron said it, it was fine. But now looking back on it, the fact that he wasn't able to back it up makes it kind of lame, right? It really does. And look, Cody, thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate you. See, once again, you and Van have actual photos. I like it. So, or if you have an LSU logo, that also works. But Cody, I appreciate you, man. So yeah, Robert, let me see. Is this your first time in a live chat? Let me know. All right. So Van wants to talk about Walker Howard. Okay, let's do it. Cody, you get to pick the next topic after Van. So Van, I know you're newer to the channel, and it's kind of strange because I've respected all the work you've done in media. You're really impressive. And dude, anytime I get a chance to talk about Walker Howard, I get really excited. So, it's pretty simple, right? Walker Howard, and by the way, go check out Van Lathan. Just what you've done, man, is just so freaking incredible. But still, look, and the reason why I say that is because I've been in digital media now for a few years, and I know how freaking hard it is to build a name in media. It's so freaking hard. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So it's cool to see other people that are really successful in this stuff here tonight. It's really cool. So let's welcome in first-time viewer Robert. Welcome to the channel, man. I'll get to Joe Brady a little bit later. So for those that don't know, first-time viewers and super chatters always get preference. So let's talk about Walker Howard. You know, this always makes me really excited, right? Because there is a big piece of me, and you guys know I hate the what could have been stories, right? What could have been, right? There are only 3 players in modern history that I think about as far as what could have been at LSU. Okay. Maya Tuema, who was an unbelievable offensive lineman, had great issues, and that hurt our offensive line recruiting since then, right? He would have been a first-round pick because when Maya Tuema, for those that remember, in 2015 when he played as a true freshman, he was freaking incredible. So that was a big what could have been. That hurt our offensive line recruiting after that. The second what could have been is Tyrann Mathieu, his final year at LSU. If he would have played his final year at LSU, Tyrann Mathieu would have been the greatest player of all time at LSU. Okay? It would have been him and Joe Burrow and everyone else. But the biggest what could have been, obviously, is Ryan Perrilloux, right? And Ryan Perrilloux, his cousin Steven is a really good friend of mine, right? And we were roommates and we talked about Ryan all the time. And it's so strange when you really think about all the talented players that have ever come to this university, right? And you think about all the different people that have walked through the doors of LSU. It is wild, wild, wild thing to think about that we have not had a 5-star quarterback since Ryan Perrilloux. And now we have 2. We have Walker Howard, and we also have Arch Manning coming in the next class, right? If he chooses LSU. Okay. I don't want this live stream to be about Arch. Let's make it about Walker Howard. Okay. So the first thing that really impresses me about Walker Howard, as far as this year is concerned, is the first is we really did need to see him play well this year. Okay. The reason being is because Walker Howard only has 1 year of starters experience. Okay, so most elite 4- and 5-star quarterbacks start 3 years in high school. Well, Walker Howard didn't get to start until last year. Okay, and Semper Fi, I think, is still in here. He actually goes to all the St. Thomas More games. So Semper Fi, if you want to comment, follow up on this. It is good to see him play really well this year, considering Jack Bech and Carter Arsenault were on his team. And Carter Arsenault is a walk-on wide receiver at LSU, and Jack Bech is obviously, he's arguably the best player on the team right now. So it was good earlier this season to see Walker Howard play as good as he played before he got injured. So for those that don't know, Walker Howard had one of the more incredible games you'll see on the road against Neville, which has a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits on their team, and he led them to a massive comeback earlier this season. So Walker Howard, who's already a 5-star quarterback, nothing to gain. His team hasn't been as good as it was last year. He goes out there and puts the team on his back. And ever since I did my first Walker Howard film study, I just fell in love with the kid. Elite arm strength, dual threat. And there you go. This is a guy that goes to all the games. He's an amazing athlete. Like, he's probably a little bit closer to Ryan Perrilloux athletically than what I initially thought. He runs a legit 4.6 and he's got a cannon, right? And he's big time. So obviously, Van, as far as Walker Howard is concerned, I think he is a college football playoff quarterback. Now, I will also say this, okay? The class of 2022 quarterbacks is as good of a crop of quarterbacks I've ever seen. Just looking at their high school tapes, okay? They're really good, right? Walker Howard's really good. You can make a strong case that the kid committed to Clemson out of Westlake is the best player in this class, He beat Quinn Ewers in the state championship game last year. He's really good. And then Connor Weidman, committed to Texas A&M, can also play. The kid that's committed to Texas and almost won the Elite 11 can also really play. And then, of course, you have Quinn Ewers, who's at Ohio State as well. So the interesting thing about Walker Howard is class of 2022 quarterbacks is insanely good. And when you look at last year's quarterback crop, it had Caleb Williams. We'll see what the other names in that crop does. And then the year before and the year before that, there haven't really been that many top end quarterbacks outside of maybe Matt Corral and a few sleepers like, Malik Willis at Liberty. So Walker Howard's really good. Would I say he is the best quarterback in this class? I don't know. I really do like the kid that's committed to Clemson out of Westlake. His name just slips my mind. He's really good. He's really, really good. In a way, he's kind of underrated, right? Because he beat Quinn Ewers and he's still a lower rated prospect. So it's very interesting. So, yeah, I'm really high on Walker Howard. Now, as far as Walker Howard still, don't ever say Walker in the same sentence as Perilou. I mean, look, I agree with that to a certain. Walker. No one's ever going to touch Ryan Perillou's stats, right? But he's really good, right? But Ryan Perilou is the greatest Louisiana high school football player, probably of the modern era. Now, I'm not as well versed. I'm not as well versed in Louisiana high school football, but still, Walker Howard's really special. I hope he's as good as Ryan Perilou would have been at LSU, right? So, Van, let me know if I answered your question good enough about Walker Howard. I love him a lot. I really do. I think he is a year 2 starter at LSU. I do. But we'll see. We'll see what Dust does about it. I do think we have a pretty strong enough sample that Max Johnson is not the guy, right? Cody wants to talk about Myles Brennan. Jason, thank you for the very generous super chat, my guy. Cody, we'll get the Cody super chat. Jason, get your question in. Van, let me know if I answered your question about Walker Howard good enough. I'll talk about Walker all night. You guys know I will, right? Now, I understand there are some people that get really defensive whenever you start talking about Ryan Perilou, about his high school career, right? Because his high school career was so phenomenal. I did a statistical breakdown of every high school quarterback that has ever come to LSU, all right, and their senior year stats, and Ryan Perilou's stats still dominates everybody, and it's not even close, right? It was ridiculous. It was cartoonish, right? So, I don't know if Walker Howard, appreciate you, Van. I don't know if Walker Howard is that talented, but he's really, really, really good. What's the kid from Westlake's name that's committed to Clemson? That kid can really fling it. I think the class of 2022 quarterbacks is the strongest class since the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, JT Daniels class, right? Where all 3 of those guys are 5-star in the top 20. Walker really is next level, though, anticipation and everything. So let's go to Cody Super Chat, and Jason, we will get to your question next. Myles, is he just testing the waters, or is he gone? So he's gone. And it sucks, right? So, you look at Myles Brennan, you look at our 2 best performances on a yards per play basis came when Myles Brennan was a quarterback. Now, once again, that came against Missouri and Vanderbilt, but still, our offense was at its best when Myles Brennan was at quarterback. Now, how much of that was Terrace Marshall and Eric Gilbert being fully healthy and locked in? That probably had a lot to do with it, because you look at Myles Brennan's QBR versus Mississippi State. Myles Brennan was pretty bad versus Mississippi State. The amount of throws he missed in that game was a cartoonishly high number. Now, it was a lot worse because our defense was so bad in that game, and Chasen Hines blew a ton of blocks in that game. And if those two things didn't happen, we would have beaten Mississippi State in game 1 last year. So Myles Brennan has a weird rib injury, and he also has the elbow injury this offseason. Cody, it comes down to this, right? I'm lucky enough to have known quite a few people in the sports medicine field. And all the science and all the years of history and all the research that they do to be a team doctor, to be a Jack Marucci or anyone like that, they will all tell you the same thing, that injuries are just random. Okay. Now, there are people like Tom Brady that do the best job they possibly can to keep their body in the best possible shape. And you do give credit to those people, but injury luck is just that. It's luck, right? Now, of course, if you're a dual threat quarterback, you are going to be open to more, injuries, but still, Myles Brennan, a pocket quarterback, it just could not stay healthy. I'll tell you this, based on what I saw versus UCLA, we probably beat UCLA if Myles Brennan is quarterback, because Max Johnson missed an obscene amount of throws in that game. With that said, I think Myles Brennan is making the right move. I think he can play at the next level. I think he can be a clipboard holder, but he needs to put a full year of film on tape. And if I were Myles Brennan, and if Myles Brennan was watching this right now, I would pack my bags and go to North Carolina, play in a Phil Longo offense, put up 3,000 yards passing, and then get drafted. It makes no sense to not do that. So, I think the world of Myles. I think he would have been a really good quarterback at LSU. You look at a bunch of the research that we've done, that we did a bunch of quarterback research this offseason, and Myles Brennan checked a lot of boxes. So Myles Brennan, statistically, one of the best high school quarterbacks to ever come to LSU. Myles Brennan, his dual threat numbers are actually a lot better than what I initially thought. So athletically, I think, he would have developed into a decent, probably Mac Jones type of quarterback. It just never would have worked out, right? Just because of his injury issues. And it sucks. It really does. I would have liked to have seen him without Terrace Marshall, but still, he would have put up big numbers with Kayshawn. So Myles is gone. I hate it. I think we would have been one win better. I think if we had him versus UCLA, we would be one win better. But, outside of that, we can woulda, coulda, shoulda all night. We really can. Kind of like with Ryan Perrilloux to a certain degree, right? Kenny Chesney is head coach. Let go. What do you say? What's funny? Kenny Chesney is like a fan of every SEC program. He's a big Tennessee fan. He's a big Alabama fan. When I interviewed Nick Saban a few years ago, he told me his two of his best friends were Alan Jackson and Kenny Chesney. I know that sounds random, but it's true. But yeah, 2 or 3 not good as one. As always, coming in with the Kenny Chesney super chats. It's a super chat. Okay. Jason, 2 great comments here. Get Mel Tucker. Who do they go after as OC? Does it bring this guy from MSU or hire someone else? Get a legit QB coach, and you might see a difference in Max. Having 3 good QBs will help loads. Jason, you've always been a Max backer, and I still think Max can be a good SEC quarterback. But, I go back to the stat, right? In the modern era of LSU football, every single quarterback that has had to start in their first or second year of development as the full-time starter has not worked out. But every quarterback that has started year 3 or later in their development as the full-time starter has worked out. So, as many of you know, because of Myles Brennan, Max Johnson was playing ahead of schedule anyway, and he was always paying behind a bad offensive line. And King Robert just dropped a really nice super chat. He is back from his vacation in Florida, so welcome back, King Robert. But yeah, Jason, I like Max. I like him more as a backup quarterback. there's just so many missed throws on tape. It's really bad. They're starting to pile up. I think he's a little shot. I think the Liam Shanahan being driven into his back is kind of getting driven into his lap is kind of piling up on him. And a lot of that's on Ed Orgeron. And, you know, I know he's not an offensive line coach, but he is a defensive tackle expert. Ed Orgeron should know that if your center is being driven into the lap of the quarterback, you're not going to win a lot of games. So if we would have figured something else out other than Liam Shanahan at center, I think Max Johnson would be in a lot better spot. Nuss, Max, or Walker next year? I have my money on Nuss. I have a hard time believing Walker Howard's going to start next year because, you know, he's having to deal with this injury issues this year, even though it's not really that serious. It's going to come down to Nuss or Max. I would still lean Nuss just a little bit here, just because of how many throws Max has missed this year. The Auburn tape in the second half was really bad. Florida was pretty good, but the Kentucky tape was bad. It really was. Some of it's offensive line, some of it's other stuff, but really it's not good, guys. It really isn't. So yes, I think the smart money would be on Nuss going into next year. I really would. Everyone say hi to King Robert. He's watching in the background, and he is back from vacation in Florida. I would agree with this. I really would, because you know, we can woulda, coulda, shoulda. Ryan Pierlou would have been an all-time great quarterback at LSU, right? He just would have been. There he is, King Robert, right there, checking in on Big Al. It's good stuff. I don't think Nuss is only going to start for a year, right? If he comes out and plays well, I think he'll start 2 years, right? And then you hand the keys off to Walker Howard, right? Yes. Who could forget this, Jason? Who could forget the Jarrett Lee, Andrew Hatch, and Jordan Jefferson fiasco of 2008? And that's Ryan Pierlou's fault. There's just no other way around it. Ryan really let us down. And look, I think he wouldn't have been Joe Burrow good, but he would have been really freaking good, right? He still made the NFL. He was that talented. I mean, he just would have been phenomenal. It's just no other way around it. Noah, is this your first time in a chat? Let me know. We do have another Robert whose first time is here. No, I like this photo, man. You and the child at an LSU game, that just makes me so happy. And as always, shout out to Jason. Jason's one of the super dads of the channel. Cliff is another super dad on the channel. Spend time with your chillins, okay? I don't have any kids yet. But no, there is no kid announcement here tonight. But still, be there for your chillins. Noah, let me know if this is your first time. I'm going to go in and answer this question like it's your first time. Yeah, I would. You LSU fans, you could be the biggest Walker Howard fan on the planet. Caleb Williams is the real deal. You know, I think I'll tell you this. I think if the NFL draft allowed true freshmen to be eligible, I think Caleb Williams would be the number 1 overall pick, right? And it wouldn't even be close. There you go, Noah. First time in the chat, but always listen to your channel. Caleb Williams was in LSU's top 3. So I'll tell you this. The fact that Ed Orgeron got Caleb Williams to get us in his top 3 is some pretty good recruiting. But obviously, you know, he went to Oklahoma to go play for Lincoln Riley. So yeah, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams reunion in LSU. How about it? What's up, Carvis? Can't believe we're not going to see Nuss. We win in 2012 if we had anyone else other than Jordan Jefferson. That's kind of tough to say. It really is. I mean, that Bama team was so good. That was probably Nick Saban's best team. The 2011 Bama team was probably his best team. I would say 2011, 2016 or 2020. Probably 2020 is best, but no, that 2011 team was good. They were loaded. They were loaded. Yeah, King Robert. Harley Cat, what's good? Jacob is a girl dad as well. Shout out to you. Shout out once again to Jared, a loyal PHLer, going to be a granddad of a granddaughter. There are a lot of booties. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Most underrated song of all time. I could see myself in Tigerland right now. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Oh, man. Yeah, I tend to think this as well. I just don't think we would have beat Bama in the rematch. It would have taken, a Joe Burrow type of player to beat Bama in that game. It really would have. I mean, that defense was really freaking good. So, yeah, with that said, it should have been Oklahoma instead of Alabama in that game. Oklahoma State. And we would have beaten Brandon Whedon and Justin Blackman. But still. King Robert, the vacation isn't over. It's just a continuation here on PHL. Let's see. Getting some good Vimos tonight. I appreciate it. Oh, this is good. I opened up Twitter here. Emory Jones says he is solid on LSU, the 4-star offensive lineman. Once again, there's only 3 recruits in this class. You should cry yourself to sleep over if they don't go to LSU. Okay? Shout out to Van again. Walker Howard's one of them. Number 2 is Emory Jones, and number 3 is Will Campbell. Yeah, now we could. I don't want this chat to turn into a 2011, 2012 LSU Bama, right? We need positivity. We don't need to talk about 1-9-12. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's up there. I mean, that's probably Saban's second or third best. I would still argue 2016, even though they didn't get the job done. That was probably, that was such a good team that they had that year. Booty, 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 booty. The Nuts redshirt doesn't make any sense to me unless he suggested it or they just didn't want to deal with the fanfare anymore. Yeah, look, here's the thing about Nuss's redshirt. It obviously comes down to what he wants to do, right? But I think Garrett Nussmeier, when Myles Brennan got hurt, and you are the top backup quarterback, you have to know that the likelihood that you're going to keep your red shirt is very slobbered. Slobbered. This is what you get an hour into it. Just slobber. Huh? You know that the likelihood that you're going to actually get to keep your red shirt is very little, right? Because if you're the top backup quarterback, you're going to play, right? So, look at Myles Brennan. He was the top backup quarterback in 2019. We had perfectly healthy quarterback play, but Myles Brennan still played, a decent amount of snaps, right? So you have to know if you're the top backup quarterback, your 4-game redshirt is likely to be burned with no other scholarships. Now, of course, if you're Nuss and you're a member of Nuss's family, you want to keep the redshirt, right? But I do think it's just bad luck. I just have a tough time believing that Nuss is not going to play in at least 2 more games, right? So we'll see. Nuss will come in for the second half and lead us to victory this weekend. That would be the craziest LSU win of all time. Where did we check the transfer portal? Who's available? I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I think you can go to 247 and they have one. I survived Curly in 5 bad years of football. We will rise again. I love it. You know what's funny, Carl? Is I've never been in a bad era of LSU football, right? I started really become a fan. I started watching the early Saban years, right? That's when, I was a child and I was really focusing in on LSU football. Like I vaguely remember Kev Falk in the LSU years, but I was really becoming a fan and remembering watching the games with my dad, a little bit before the Bluegrass Miracle. So, it's strange, right? Some of you elder LSU football fans, you've been through the really thick bad. We're minus 28. I'm taking us to cover with Nuss. I think he meant plus 28. If you have a sports book that has LSU as a 28-point favorite, please link it down below. Chad Jones with the pick at the goal line at Bama. That was a big play. Was it a pick? No, it was a fumble, right? The forced fumble. That was so huge. That was a big play, and then Craig Steltz's hit at the end of the game was just as big. Let's see. Which is crazy to think about, since we're talking about these older LSU teams. The 07 team is so weird, right? They were not a dominant football team. Even in their wins, they only had 2 dominant wins all that year, and it was the first 2 games of the year. So, Les probably did not coach that team to its potential, right? But we had Matt Flynn, and Matt Flynn was just this ridiculously good comeback quarterback. There we go. Cody says I cry myself to sleep every night this season. I'm not going to lie, Cody. I've actually gotten a little emotional about this. I'm dead serious because I look at this team every day, right? And I thought going into this season, a lot of you guys remember, I was a 9-4, 10-3 kind of guy leading into this year, right? I never thought we were that great of a football team going into the season. However, I thought the rest of college football wasn't going to be that great. And that to me is what really bothers me, Cody, is it's not so much. It's not so much, right, that that we suck this year, right? It's that we talked about this in the video yesterday. What really bothers me is there is not a single team that we've played this year that I would call a really good football team, right? There's not a single one. UCLA, they're frauds. UCLA is awful. Auburn, a Bo Nix-led Auburn team, is the best team that's been on our schedule this year. Ole Miss isn't that great. Kentucky barely, and I mean barely, beat South Carolina. They didn't even score 20 points on South Carolina. And they look like the Mike Martz Rams versus our defense. That's what really pisses me off. And I really do think it's why Neil Farrell liked my tweet yesterday. It's why, certain players, people that are close to certain players on the team have reached out and said this season was so wasted. It's not the fact that we suck. It's that if we were competent, we would just be a 2-loss team, right? There is no reason for us to be 4-4 this year. No reason. Well, the injuries. I'll tell you this about injuries, right? It is amazing what happens to your injuries when you're on a winning football team, right? There is a reason why Jalen Waddle played in the national championship game in an injury he had no business being back on the field for, because they were winning, right? And it goes back to all the age-old adage, right? And it is so cliche. It is so cliche, but it's true, okay? We like to talk about all these things that don't matter. Off the field stuff doesn't matter in college football. It really doesn't, because all the off the field mumbo jumbo you want to talk about that's surrounding LSU football right now, some of which is very serious. It is very, very serious. It is not an issue when you win, right? It's just not. All right. Everything magically changes when you win. It just does, right? And we should be no less than a 3 or 2 loss team. That's the thing, right? We talk about all these different things. Well, if so and so wasn't focused on this or that or the other, I guarantee you the best way to galvanize the locker room is win, right? Bobby Petrino is the most awkward individual I've ever met. Most awkward. I can understand how he would never, ever relate to a player. And I can understand players not liking him. But they still went out there and played for him pretty hard, because Bobby Petrino won a lot of football games at Arkansas, right? When you win, people will sacrifice a lot. They will sacrifice a lot. It is amazing what it does. It truly is amazing. It is what makes football so great, because it is the ultimate meritocracy. The ultimate meritocracy. Marvin, I would put your comment on the screen, but it does feature a bad word, and I don't want to get demonetized. But I agree with you. Mac, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, Mac. No, it ain't no thing, man. I like the energy. You don't think college football is a meritocracy, Sam? Really? Well, I guess we view it differently. Danielle, welcome back. We spent all season waiting and hoping and getting pumped up to be crushed week after week this year. Coaching has been so unfair to these players. I agree with you, Danielle. I do. And I understand, right? Matt Moscona had an interesting tweet, and I asked him about it. And he was talking about the NIL, right? And he was bringing up like complacency. And I do agree that the NIL caused some complacency with some players. I can clearly see it in Spencer Rattler's game. He did nothing to make himself better. Nothing. All the same issues he had last year were the same issues he had now. And I could see him getting some fat checks and seeing what, actually happened to him. It's because, he honestly, there was probably some laziness there, right? He just wasn't as good as he was last year, right? So, look, the players on this team, maybe there was some complacency with NIL. Maybe there were some guys looking into transferring that we don't know about. There's a lot. There's a lot that you could point out as far as issues with the team, right? But there is one man who makes $8 million a year. Okay. $8 million. to figure this out. And that's the big issue with Ed Orgeron. I think some of you would have been fine with a 2-loss LSU team up to this point. All right. But what bothers you is that we are losing the games the same way we lost them last year, to a T, really. And it is true. Yes, players are far more important than the coaches, right? They always have been. Players are what moves the needle. But when your coaching is as rancid and as bad as LSU's has been, it gives your players little to no shot of winning, right? You just have no shot. When you play man coverage on every snap, you have no shot. When you have the lowest blitz percentage of college football and you're that predictable, that's why you see really average quarterbacks like Will Levis and Dorian Thompson-Robinson lighting us up, right? So, yeah, I fully agree with this, Danielle. I feel really bad for the players. Once again, the players do bear a little bit more responsibility than even what I've called them out for this year. And on the film studies, we'll say a player needs to do better here or there. But watching the film each and every week and rewatching the games 2 times over, like I always do, I just kept seeing LSU make the same mistakes, and it all comes back on the head coach. Nick Saban never has the same team. There's always something different about each and every one of his teams. His teams were different with Mac Jones and Tua at quarterback. He's really good at adjusting. Kirby is too. You can have elite athletes, but you have to be a decent coach, right? Let's see. So Danielle, thanks for the super chat. I do feel really bad for the players. I really do. Let's see. I said 2-loss team coach lost the fire and grit of average coaching on top of it. Yeah, I agree with you, Marvin. Yeah, I do. Exactly, $8 million to medal and make a mess. Vanilla offense and defense in all these weeks. I know they're just. That's why I tweeted out the clip yesterday, Danielle. It was so sad. It really was. Like, I was just shocked that I re-listened to it to make sure that what was said was said. But that was the clip I tweeted out yesterday and the video I shared yesterday is the most damning piece, and I'm not supposed to curse, but still, it's the worst thing I've ever heard an LSU coach say. Right? Well, I wouldn't say the worst, but it's really, really bad, right? So yeah, it's really bad. Speaking facts, Danielle normally does. Welcome to the channel, Danielle. I know you've been here for about a month now. We appreciate you always just telling it like it is. I love it. Just beat Bama. I hope so, Sam. I hope so. Yeah, I got to give Damon Clark a lot of credit. He does go out there and just ball out. Yeah, we made Auburn look great. Bring in Kenny Chesney. Huh? Brandon, welcome. Brandon's been on the channel for quite some time. Cody, thank you for the super chat. Danielle, thanks for your super chat as well. Once again, get your super chat in, and we immediately go to your question. Kyle Shanahan, I see his name popped up here, would be the absolute worst person to come in to fix LSU. That would not be good. An NFL lifer going into the college game, no thank you. No thank you. No thank you. Shanahan's really talented. He's probably a top 10 NFL coach. But God, no, please no. There are some NFL coaches that would interest me, but not him. It's truly insane, though. These Ed Orgeron press conferences, I honestly thought the clip I tweeted out yesterday, I thought it was SNL. Like, do you ever watch something and it's just like, there's no way this is real. There's no way that this is real. But it was. It really was. That comment was real. I like Bieniemy as well, but I do think every time Eric Bieniemy's name is getting brought up, I want this to be my Nostradamus moment. Eric Bieniemy will be the head coach of the Chiefs next year. There he is. So I wanted to wait till Yusha actually joined in. So for those that don't know, Yusha sent me this photo or this shirt of the great Giorgio Canaglia, right? So I used to produce a show, and Giorgio was the host, and Giorgio is a soccer legend of the soccer club Lazio, okay? And Giorgio got to play with Pele. He got to play with Franz Beckenbauer. He got to play with some of the best players on the planet, and I used to produce Giorgio's show. So Giorgio, it'd be the same as like, as a soccer player, Giorgio is just a great. He's like Kev Falk, basically. And it's cool. So you should thank you for the shirt. R.I.P. Giorgio, passed away in 2012. You know, one of the coolest guys I've ever gotten to work with. Actually, the coolest guy I've ever gotten to work with. His Pele stories were insane. And he is a soccer icon. So thank you. The Nuss Bus is here. I came in late tonight because I was watching Are You Serious? Danielle, don't go watch Blake's stuff and then come over to me. So, Danielle, you're calling me second fiddle to Blake. I'm kidding. I actually talked to Blake for an hour yesterday on the phone. I love me some Blake. Did y'all discuss Nuss's redshirt comments? I was confused. So, if we have to play him, he loses redshirt as he played 4 games. So, Nuss has played 3 games. He has 1 more game left to go. I touched on this earlier, Danielle, but I'll go back to it. And Blake might have a different opinion on this. But, you know, I normally side with players when it comes to stuff like this. But when when Myles Brennan got hurt and you became the top backup quarterback, you have to know that your redshirt is likely going to get burned, right? So, you know, I feel bad for Nuss to be in this spot, but I don't think he's going to be able to retain his red shirt. I just don't. Only tonight. R.I.P. Giorgio always, man. You thought it was an Andy Kaufman shirt? Danielle, I'm gonna tell Blake. I'm like, Blake, if you see Danielle's, I'm just kidding. You know what's funny? Blake and I do share a lot of viewers, and I go on Blake's show every now and then, and he really is become a really good friend of mine. And I need to go hang out with him in Albany, Louisiana, right? They have a really good sports card shop. And as many of you know, I'm a sports card podcaster, football card podcaster. I want you guys to see this card right here, okay? Dante Culpepper, Steve McNair card I got for $1. Look at this card, okay? Where are my HBCU fans? God, Steve McNair and Alcorn State. How great was that? These are my 2 favorite quarterbacks growing up. I love McNair. I love Culpepper. I was also a big Peyton Manning fan. So this is just such a great card. It really is, man. Who remembers Dante Culpepper? You know what's funny? Randy Moss. Okay, so some of Randy Moss's rookie cards. Okay. By the way, if you do want booger bands, we have exactly 3 more left. There are 3 more booger bands left. So 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. The next $20 Venmo is going to get these 3 booger bands. And it's got to be a Venmo or a Cash App. And we are going to give away a Joe Burrow card. Let's see which one I'm going to give out today. Let's see. Oh, this is my favorite one right here. Okay. Boom. Next $20 Venmo is getting the last 3 booger bands. And I think I got a few more that Hey has in the back. But We're going to give away a Joe Burrow card right here, right now. The next $20 Venmo or Cash App. You're getting the last 3 booger bands we have in this batch right here. I got to order some more. Culpepper, man. How many of you, whenever I said that, you remember this? So you know what's cool? I should go pull it out right now. But Randy Moss's rookie cards have a lot of him in jersey number 18, which also has you better keep Jamar Chase rookie cards. He's too expensive already. I was kind of hoping, Roby, that Jamar Chase would suck this year, so his rookie cards would tank. But he's the best wide receiver in the NFL this year, arguably. I'm a big Jamar Chase fan, as many of you know, but he's too expensive. So he's going to be too expensive. For those that don't know, Jamar Chase, I would also not get into Joe Burrow rookie cards because they're going to be really expensive too. But this one, the next $20 Venmo or Cash App, you're getting 3 booger bands, and you're also getting this. And you know you want to be like Jared and be a part of the Booger Band Club. Jared is a proud member of the Booger Band Club. I don't know if Robert is watching this, but Robert had his booger bands on the beach. And Robert actually does something smart. He puts his booger band around his Yeti cup. And I know this isn't a Yeti cup, but it's one of Haley's cups. He puts his booger band around the Haley cup. Yeah, Memphis on. Blake, man. Blake's a beast. So, yeah, I'm a big Jamar Chase fan. I don't think I'm going to buy any of his rookies, though, Roby, because they're just too expensive. Because Jamar Chase, he's everything you want in an NFL player, right? Big personality, big star. It's got the silver grill. It's just amazing, right? So, give away this Joe Burrow. Where do you think Miles goes? Somebody say Baylor, UK. I wouldn't go to Kentucky. I would go to a school in the ACC where they don't play defense and put up big numbers and then get drafted. I think Miles needs to go out of the SEC and start somewhere and go from there. I'm never going to forget your super chat, Paris. Paris, you ever notice when Paris jumps into the chat, everybody gets excited. Everybody gets excited when Paris jumps in the chat. When Paris is in here, Big Al gets excited. Jared gets excited. Everybody gets excited. Threw away your Jake Delhomme, Brian Mitchell, and Orlando Thomas college cards and Shaq's rookie card? Yeah, we need to be the Jazz again. I hate it. I hate when I look at I can't watch Utah Jazz. I can't watch Utah Jazz, right? I just can't because of the team name. It makes no sense. Like, it makes no sense on so many levels. Roby, I know you always want to talk Pelicans. I'll do it here in a minute, okay? Because I do have some thoughts on the current state of the Pelicans, right? Especially, you know who, right? I wish I had an Andy Kaufman shirt. You know what's funny? I wasn't ever a big Andy Kaufman fan, but his nephew actually shoots photos at the his nephew shoots photos of LSU football. Ironically, it's kind of cool. I didn't know it at the time. Miles to Cincinnati. Every time Paris jumps in the chat, Paris just glows. I love it. She is the Velvet Taco Queen of PHL. Brennan to Mississippi State. How about that? Let's get a new poll question up. So I think Mel Tucker dominated this poll. How about that? Armani Goodwin going up against his home state of Alabama. I would like to see it. I like Armani a lot. I really do. I do think he's more year two. Kiner has looked a lot better than Armani. I think a lot of it is health. So yeah, we'll see. Mississippi State would be a good fit. Would be a really good fit for him. Let's see. Let's get a new poll question up here. New poll question is posted. How about it? Jarrett with the super chat. Andy Kaufman did an Elvis. What I missed just got here. So Mississippi State for Myles Brennan, I would like it. Minority coach for LSU, that'd be cool to see. Who's our starting left tackle this week? I'm guessing Dellinger, huh? We win. Jared, thank you for the super chat. So yeah, I want the best coach for LSU, but Dave Aranda and Mel Tucker could be the best two candidates right now, especially based on what happened this past weekend. So let's see. We win. We beat Alabama this weekend. I think, okay. So, Nick Saban does a good job of telling his A-plus team that nobody believes in him. Even though the college football playoff put Alabama at number 2, right? With Alabama's best win being who is Alabama's best win? Is it Mississippi State by 40? No, Danielle, there have been other minority coaches in the SEC, just not many. Roll Tide, what F Bama? Dave Aranda. Big Al has been the president of the Dave Aranda fan club. Big Al's been screaming Dave Aranda's name more so than anyone else. How many of you would like so I got to shout out my buddy Zach Rao, epic LSU tailgater friend of mine. He so I tweeted this out and he said that he would be very opposed to this. How many of you let me tweet this out, or let me actually change the poll question now that it's on my mind. Alabama fans in Louisiana are just as bad as Cowboy fans in Louisiana. It's funny. I think I disagree with that. I would say Alabama fans in Louisiana are worse, right? NFL is a little bit more transient. You're going to have a bigger, fan base. So, yeah, I mean, the NFL is a little bit more scattered. I think college football is a little bit more regional, right? Let me ask you, let me see. Okay, I want you guys to answer this poll question. I don't think they're going to have a coach I don't think they'll have a coach by early signing day. I really don't. I'm an LSU fan living in Bama. Well, that's true. You know what's funny? I actually take that back because honestly, I wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for LSU fans in Bama, like Jared and Big Al and everybody. A good bit of my viewers are in Alabama.
Hello.
Oh, you want to see the baby?
Don't do that.
I get her riled up. Oh, the baby.
You have got to clean this room up.
Look at her. Her first time going to Baton Rouge is in a few weeks.
Next week.
I want to say hi to the baby. See.
Hey, everybody.
I already cast that vote. Brody, you only get to vote once. We can't revote. I accidentally clicked no for Dan Mullen Poe. I wanted to say yes.
Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, Jason, with Josh White. That is so strange, right?
Why?
Roby from Mobile County, south of I-10. Huh? She is growing fast, Nuts Bus. And she's so sweet.
No.
She is not sweet.
She is. Hey, Big Al. Ow. Mm-mm.
Quit biting.
I'm almost scared.
She's being bad.
Got to get a pic with you if you're tailgating for the Arkansas game.
Yeah, we'll do it. I don't know what our plans are yet.
Mamas.
We're trying to get something scheduled for Friday night before the game. We'll see what we can do.
Can we take Z so they can meet Z?
No, we're not taking Z.
Why?
Not taking Z, baby.
I think most places there are dog friendly.
Go to the Bulldog.
Yeah, we could.
Go to the dogs.
She can sit in her stroller.
Oh, what's for dinner tonight? I had some
Beef chicken lo mein.
That's a beef chicken lo mein.
Nice.
Didn't get to have Hey-Hey's awesome cooking tonight.
There you can see her eyes.
There's been Yeah, I could see that happening too, Jason. His playing time's been cut in half. They've gone to
There we go. Get him.
They've gone to Cam Lewis.
She's biting your tag.
Cam's had a good game.
All right, we're out.
All right, they're out.
This is
What are you doing? Don't kick my stuff. You just kicked my cards.
Shut up.
You just
would clean this shit up.
You just cursed. You just
Up.
You just demonetized me. Thank
Oh,
you.
come on.
You just demonetized the whole channel because you had to drop
Quit making that face.
Since you had the SHIT all over the place. It's fine. The rules are always bent for hey.
Did it really just demonetize? No, it did not.
Yeah, YouTube just sent me a thing.
No, they did not.
They're sending a YouTube cop. It's like a little Google bot.
Get out of here.
Did y'all hear? Did y'all hear that? Yeah, don't kick the cards. I hope they're still in good condition. They weren't actually expensive cards. Let me see. No, you didn't. I had 3 slabs right here. Got a Nick Bosa PSA 10. Got that in a trade. Got a Bronny PSA 10. But this is one of my favorite cards I have. These cards I got for really cheap, right? This one I got for a really good price right here. Peyton Manning rookie card. Not one of his more expensive ones. But this is such a good card right here. Peyton Manning rookie. She said it in a country accent. That's true. Makes it a lot easier. Demonetization. You are the treasurer, right? Franklin to USC, Matt Rule to Penn State. I could see that. Napier to Florida, Fickle to Michigan State, Tucker to LSU with Mullen as the offensive coordinator. I could easily see a Dan Mullen, Mel Tucker head coach OC kind of thing. I think the recruiting comments from Dan Mullen, I don't think Dan Mullen really wants to be a coach anymore. And the Florida loss last year to LSU, you could see from a mile away because Dan Mullen is just too childish. He is a better suited offensive coordinator or a better suited coach for a smaller program, right? And you do tend to wonder, the same is true with like a guy like Lane Kiffin. It's so hard to be an elite Power 5 head coach. Like, yes, you had the better players, but it is so hard to maintain what Nick Saban has done, right? It's crazy. Huh? That is true. Dan Mullen did the Darth Vader thing. Oh, man. That shiz up. Billy Napier going to Florida would bother me. I agree, Kyle. I'm telling you, Kyle, I don't know if you live in Lafayette or not. I know Semper Fi does. There's a lot of Lafayette 337 LSU fans. I want Billy Napier to get this job. I don't think Joe Brady's going to come back to the college game, right? I just don't see that happening. Throw the bank at Dennis Allen. And Dennis is really good. I'll always say that Gus Malzahn was really good at Auburn. There's no other way around it. Gus Malzahn was a really good coach at Auburn. They beat Bama twice, almost won a national championship. Nick Marshall was his quarterback. KO, you're 337, 504, but living in Texas now. We'll do this. We're 90 minutes in. Let me know where you're watching from, everybody. Danielle, I'm going to tell Blake. I'm going to tell Blake. I'm an LSU fan in South Georgia, surrounded on all sides by Georgia fans, Florida fans, Bama fans, and Auburn fans. Putting out house swag, doing word about being there. Yeah. They just laugh at you now. That's true. It's the downside. I switched back to Blake. Gus was good. The 318, the 865. Oh, y'all are giving out area codes that no one cares about. I'm kidding. The 318, North Louisiana was good. Opelousas. Where are my Mama's Fried? We haven't talked about Mama's Fried Chicken on here in a while. I love Mama's Fried Chicken. Okay, so truth be told, though, so whenever I'm driving down to Baton Rouge, I have to make a business decision, okay? Both of which takes 30 minutes extra on your drive, but it's well worth it. I have to choose between Mama's Fried Chicken or Billy's Boudin in Krotz Springs, right? I have to choose between those two fine establishments, all right? And as much as I love Mama's Fried Chicken, and Mama's Fried Chicken is the best fried chicken of all time, right? As much as I love Mama's Fried Chicken. I have been stopping at Billy's Boudin far more than I've been stopping at Mama's Fried Chicken. And it's not even close, right? No, it is close. I go back and forth. So when Hey and I go down there, I'll probably choose Mama's Fried Chicken this time because I did Billy's Boudin last time. God, but Billy's Boudin is so elite. It really is. It really is, man. Arkansas. Let's go. And Zachary. Mama's Fried Chicken is so good. It really is. I am the answer. Where are you from in Arkansas? Let me know. I went to high school in Arkansas. Let's see. LSU banner on your porch, you better. Them Tigers. My parents still rock an LSU banner as well. So I grew up in Arkansas. There were 3 LSU season ticket holders that lived on my street. Right. So there's a lot of LSU fans in Arkansas, a lot. What? Okay, so this is fighting words right here. Mama's Fried Chicken would do wonders nationally. I agree. I really do think they are that good. Like, I actually do believe the hype. Okay. That lemonade is thick too, right? Like, it's so thick, whenever you drink lemonade and you can barely breathe, you can't get any air through your trachea. That's how thick I like my lemonade. And it's that good. They were slacking on the boudin that morning, a little chunky. That was the first time yet. Oh, I'm glad you let me know this, KO. Because if you go get Billy's, you're going to have to wait a little bit. I have to wait. These are 2 of the best establishments in Louisiana. These 2 restaurants are as good as any in Baton Rouge or New Orleans. Mama's Fried Chicken in Opelousas and Billy's Boudin in Krotz Springs. I don't know why they don't, right? Put it all over Louisiana. The owners of both? Well, KO, let me know if they're interested in sponsorship opportunities. Huh? Well, I mean, why would they pay me any money when I talk about them for free on this channel? But those are 2 iconic Louisiana establishments. There was a guy that I know from Canada that was driving through Krotz Springs and stopped at Billy's Boudin. It is a true international phenomenon. Isn't it crazy though? So like Meg the Stallion got the Popeye sponsorship. That to me would be an ultimate sponsorship for me because you guys know I'm a big Popeyes guy. Okay, Creek, I agree. I do like Doe's steak, but Doe's is a chain, right? So here's the thing about this, Creek. If you're a true steak, I'm not a steak connoisseur. Like, I'm not a diehard steak guy. I love steak. I agree it's excellent. But most steak people that take steaks very seriously, I don't know why this is the case in the steak community. I don't know how many of you are like diehard steak people, but people get really perturbed if you say the best steak is like a chain. Okay. They want the best steakhouse in every city to be, a steakhouse, right? So like most Baton Rouge people will say it's Rufino's, right? I've never had Rufino's. I want to try it. But like if you go to like Omaha, you better not say the best steak place is Ruth Chris. You better say it's the Drover, right? Yeah, Gus's Fried Chicken is really good, but once again, it's a chain, right? There's one in Little Rock. There's one in Tennessee. There's a bunch in Tennessee. Huh? I wish, Jacob. I wish. Billy's, man. I freaking love it. I think Hey Hey and I are gonna go with Billy's this time. I like Morton's too. That's where my dad and I go. But isn't Morton's a chain as well? Isn't Morton's a Chicago establishment? Buddy just texted me that Dansby Swanson made a play. I didn't know the World Series was even on tonight. Oh, the Braves are winning 5-0. Who in here is cheering for the Braves or the Astros? Kind of cheering for the Braves. Yeah, so there's a difference, Danielle. With I think there is a difference with like chain restaurants, like actual chains, like around the country. So like Canes, and like a chain just being in just like a state. It's like Billy's. I wouldn't necessarily consider a chain restaurant the same way that I would like consider like Canes or Burger King or something like that. Um, but you're all right. Billy's is a chain as well. Uh, so like for instance, Daniel, every time I'm in Baton Rouge, I have Pluckers. I'm just a diehard Pluckers guy. I'm jealous Matt Moscona and pretty much everyone else has Pluckers sponsorships. I would kill for a Plucker sponsorship. I freaking love their products so much. I really do. I think they're elite. I really do. Uh, but KO knows the owners. Wait, really? I didn't know Tony Sashery was an actual real person. I didn't know. I did not know this. I've got to send this to Haley's dad because he's like a diehard master chef. My dad's not, but he loves food. My dad doesn't know how to cook a Pop Tart. Uh, I did not know this that Tony Sashery was an actual human. I thought Tony's was just like the name. Dusty Baker, yeah, I like Dusty a lot. I grew up watching Dusty's Cubs straight out of Opelousas. I didn't know Tony Sashery's started in Opelousas. I thought it was. I thought. Mm, that's crazy. That's true. That's true, man. That's true. Yeah, my family's a big food family. Okay, Branson Kent. Yeah, I see your thing. Yeah, I'll do that for you. I'm not great on Instagram, so please forgive me. I wasn't hating on you. Uh, so Branson Kent wants to interview me for his job. Heck no, play the bowl game, man. The 15 extra practices. I do think it's a little strange, though, because, you want to kind of move on from Ed Orgeron as quick as possible. But I feel as if you owe it to the players to play that final game because the players get a bunch of swag and cool stuff. So why not? So there's sports books in Louisiana now. Maybe one of them could sponsor my show. My girlfriend was getting on me about that. They're like, wait, you don't have any one of these big sports book sponsorships? I'm like, no. It was good to see Kev Falk back out there. I didn't know they called Opelousas the spice capital of the world. OP's food is so elite, though. So elite in that I only had Mama's Fried Chicken. That's the only place I've ever eaten in Opelousas. I'm sure there's other great establishments there. If anybody wants to treat me and Hey to dinner on Friday, be our guest. Let's see. North Louisiana has good food. But I do think Opelousas is dominating. I do agree with this. They are more beatable. 28. I know LSU is terrible, but 28 points is a lot to cover against a team that is rested. So Roby's waited patiently for me to talk some Pelicans, and he does super chat a good bit. And we do normally dive into different topics. I know we got a little deeper into food earlier. So yeah, I'll share a few Pelicans thoughts, Roby, even though this isn't, this audience isn't as big of an NBA audience, and I'll keep it brief. Okay. I know this from doing sports radio in the South that if you spend too much time on NBA, people will just leave in big numbers, even though I am a big NBA fan. Yeah, the Zion Williamson thing is a mess. It's been mishandled not only by Zion, but by Griff. And there's no other way around it. You could be the biggest Zion fan on the planet, and even you would admit that this has not been well handled by Zion. And it's just true. He's obviously a superstar talent, but he has said in every interview that he really wants to be in New Orleans. And I get that, but you would be ready to go by now on a 1-6 team if you really love the franchise, or you would have given us more clarity to where we are right now. And look, when the New Orleans media starts saying this as well, when you know how much leverage NBA superstars have, it is well past time to give us something, right? Look, Zion is bigger than the team he plays on, right? He is a bigger brand than the Pelicans brand, okay? That's just all there is to it. He obviously is the biggest young star in the game. There's no player in the NBA that is less than 4 or 5 years into their career that is close to Zion stardom outside of Luka and maybe Ball and Morant. That's it. So Zion knows this. It's kind of a weird situation because we're not a big brand. As much as I love the Pelicans, we're not a big brand. And that sucks. It really sucks because our team is terrible without him. And I hate it for Willie. It kind of reminds me of the Houston situation when Harden left him out to dry. I kind of feel the same way right now. I'm a big Zion fan. I hope he gets healthy. I hope he gets back on the court. But once again, this was just a disaster on so many different levels, from the Pelicans, on Zion, on everyone. You just can't. It's a disaster. So it's bad. It's bad. So hopefully that answers your Pelicans question, Roby. I haven't really been able to sit and watch them all that much. Brandon Ingram is a number 3. We need him to be our number 2, and he's probably one of the weaker 2s in the NBA. He's just not that great. He's a good player, but he's not a needle mover, right? Especially in the West, right? So right now, a guy that is a decent number 2 is having to be our number 1. And, in a conference where the number 1s are LeBron, Jokic, Lillard, Morant, Steph Curry, it's just not good. It's not good. Okay. So yeah. Are people saying LSU should be on Georgia's level, 3 natties to 0? So I'll touch on this like I did earlier, right? LSU's a better program than Georgia when you factor in the national championships, but Georgia is an A-list program on LSU's level. Okay? There's just no other way around it. Their recruiting history is unreal. They don't need a national championship to validate that they're an elite job in the sport. They just don't. Okay. The only state in the United States of America that puts out more NFL players per capita than Louisiana is Georgia, right? Georgia's an elite job. So, yes, we're on a different level when it comes to natties, and we're on a different level when it comes to head-to-head, but Georgia's just as good of a job as LSU. Okay? So, yeah. There you go, Roby. Danielle, you listen to T-Bob as well. I got to call T-Bob now and say, look, I'm tired of you taking Danielle away from my channel. I love it. Pels tickets for $9, which costs less than the chicken tenders you can buy at the game. That's wild. So I've been to a lot of Pelicans games. Been lucky to sit in some really nice spots. I love the Pelicans. I love this team. I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying as, a slight as the Pelicans. I freaking love Brandon Ingram, but it's just a harsh reality that he is a decent number 2. Who's having to be our number 1. And, it's the NBA is a harsh sport. It's not in the NFL. You can win a Super Bowl on an off chance with Joe Flacco. You can't do that in the NBA. It comes down to your dudes. If you don't have the dudes, if you don't have a Giannis, you have no shot. All right. You just don't. Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, especially if you go to Utah, right? Huh? But yeah. LSU basketball should have a good team this year. SEC's pretty loaded, and the recruiting is only getting better, right? SEC men's and women's basketball is just getting better. Don Staley is like making a lot of money at South Carolina. We have Kim Mulkey now. You know, yeah, SEC women's basketball is getting better. SEC men's basketball is getting better. Eric Musselman is such a huge star at Arkansas. So, I love it, and I'm of course kidding, Danielle. T. Bob and Jacob do a great job, right? Shout out to Jeremy Hill and Mario for having me on their show earlier this week. I really do think Jeremy Hill is a superstar. I really do. I think he's great at media. I do. J Hill's just really sharp. Let's see. LSU basketball, one of their best players just hurt out for the season. Yeah, the transfer from Illinois. I wish him the best. That's true. I think UGA would rather play Alabama than us based on our SEC championship history. All right. Mo Claiborne, where you at? I agree with this too. Kirby's really good, man. He's just really good. I mean, there's just no other way around it. He's just a really good football coach. So, Kim Mulkey. We got some Kim Mulkey fans. I like it. Tab. All right, guys. What do you think? Did the Jacob Hester is a 318 guy? Did the college football playoff get this right? Did they get this right? Sip G says no. Sip G, I know you're really sad about Myles Brennan. You were on the Myles bandwagon for quite some time. Addison, an Ole Miss fan who low key loves us. I love it. They did get it right. I love it, Jonathan. I also didn't think it helped the Zion Williamson movement that we gave him a year of Stan Van Gundy. I just I tried to get on board with it. I still don't know what. I don't think coaches really matter in the NBA. Outside of maybe obviously your Phil Jacksons, your Red Auerbachs, but Lenny Wilkins. I mean, there is a such thing as a great NBA coach. Ty Lue, freaking Eric Spoelstra, whoever you want to mention, right? I just, man, I the Stan Van Gundy thing just never made a whole lot of sense. It really didn't. Oregon lost to Stanford, though. Stanford. Cincinnati deserves to be in the top 4. Michigan State will sort themselves out, but 3 right now is too high. No way does Oregon beat OSU if they play today. You might be right about that, Blake, but the games have to matter. They have to matter. If you play that school head to head, I don't care if every Oregon starter lost their legs in a house fire. I know that's grotesque. That's really dark. I don't know what just happened there. But point being, that game has to count. It does. I think Myles Brennan was Tommy Hodgson's backup. I love it, man. Games matter except for Bama. That's true. If I have to hear the phrase Bama on a neutral field again, I will freaking eat bleach while drinking bleach, while jumping into an erupting volcano, while listening to Taylor Swift. I can't stand that phrase again. Bama on a neutral field. If Bama was on a neutral field. Just got to be honest about who are the best 4 teams right now. OSU is a better team, no question. I disagree with that. There's a lot of question if Ohio State is a better team than Oregon right now, right? Ohio State did not blow Penn State out. They had a scoop and score fumble against a Penn State team that was on the road who had just lost to Illinois. Really? It would be different if Ohio State beat them by 30, right? Just stop it. Just stop it, Blake, and say that Oregon beating Ohio State without their 2 highest rated players means nothing. It has to stand for something. It does. It does. It has to stand for something. I agree with you that if Ohio State and Oregon played a rematch today, that Ohio State would probably win. They are a better team than what they were when they played. But games matter. That's the great thing about college football. Your regular season matters. It really does. I will say this: if Bama does beat Georgia in Atlanta, they're definitely getting in, right? So I don't think the number 2 ranking really is as big of a deal. And we'll forget about these rankings in a week anyway. And I think these rankings are basically saying the following. If Alabama beats Georgia, they're getting in. And if Georgia loses to Alabama as a 1-loss SEC team, they'll be the number 2 team. So if you are a Michigan State fan or if you're a Cincinnati fan, you are rooting heavily for Georgia. But you don't know that. You don't know if Auburn would beat Penn State if they played again. You don't know that. That's the point. Why even schedule the games then? Which is a point that I've made before. I have no idea why Ohio State would ever play Oregon or vice versa. It's more important to avoid losses, especially if we do this hypothetical stuff all the time, right? I'm not taking the game away from them, but you are. You are doing that exact thing. These two teams have already played. You are doing the exact opposite. Now, I am agreeing with you, Blake, that Ohio State would probably beat Oregon right now, but the game did happen. And if they're both one-loss teams at the end of the season, Oregon deserves to be in over Ohio State. You can make a strong case, Addison, that if Auburn wins out, they're going to get in. If Auburn wins out, they'll probably get in. They would. They would have beaten Alabama and Georgia on this schedule, and they still have to play Mississippi State, which is also a ranked team. So if Auburn wins out, they're probably going to get in. Right? I mean, all Oregon did was go. That's the thing. This is what makes college football great. Okay, the regular season counts. It is a big problem with the NBA, which we were talking about a minute ago, is that regular season matchups mean zero. It means nothing at all. That's what makes college football so daggum special, is that if you do play in a Power 5 conference, you can lose a game and still find your way in, but still, your games have to count for something. They just do. If you schedule Oregon, you have to know that that game very well could cost you your chance of going to the college football playoff. So I do agree that if they did rematch, that they would win. Now, I do want to show you this right here. I want you to look at this. This is Auburn's final schedule, okay? If Auburn wins out, so this final schedule here is pretty simple. These are a college football playoff top 15 team, a college football playoff top 20 team, and a college football playoff top 5 team, and another college football playoff top 5 team. If Auburn wins out, they're getting into the playoff. Even though they barely beat Georgia State, they're still getting in. If Auburn wins out, they're getting in. Rodney, what's good? Welcome to the channel. If Auburn goes 5-0 with that schedule, they deserve to get in. They deserve. Now, they get a little lucky that they drew South Carolina this year, but still, that's This is as hard as it's possibly going to get in your final 5 games, right? But if they win out, they're getting in. Exactly, Roby. And Roby, I know you and I agree a lot, and I know you do super chat and support me, but I agree with this, right? The concept, okay, this is where it gets really philosophical. You diehards that are in here 2 hours into this. What's up, Kobe? The concept of playoffs is a really silly concept to begin with, right? In the NBA, and the MLB, you don't need the playoffs, right? So if you're a fan of European soccer, you're probably already radicalized like I am when it comes to playoffs being stupid, right? But in football, because you have such few games, you need some form of a postseason, right? But your postseasons become more diluted if you dilute the value of your regular season, right? We could all agree that the NBA and Major League Baseball would be better if the regular season had more value, right? So when you expand the playoffs, or when you do these hypothetical things where I know Bryce and I were going back and forth, but this is why I'm so passionate about those head-to-heads mattering. That Ohio State and Oregon game, if you have Ohio State ranked higher than Oregon, yes, if they played today, Ohio State would be a 10.5-point favorite. Okay. But you've got to have a valuable regular season. You want to know why European soccer fans love their league so much? It's because their formats to determine champions doesn't involve postseasons. There are no playoffs, and it makes their sports better. It just does. It makes their formats of their leagues better. Okay, so we were talking about the Pelicans a minute ago. If NBA stars didn't view the regular season as a laissez-faire sleepwalk, they would take it more seriously. But they don't. They just don't show up to games sometimes, right? Whereas in the NFL, the regular season still does matter a lot. Every game really has a huge impact on your playoff seeding. So in college football, if we don't value our regular seasons, we're losing what makes this sport so beautiful, right? It's something that hurts college basketball to a certain extent, where the most important games in the sport are played in neutral sites, right? We tend to forget the Duke and North Carolina games at Cameron Indoor and Durham, right? Because they have an ACC championship, and then March Madness is what really matters. So, the more you make these games matter on campus and in the regular season, the better your sport's going to be. And I feel the same way as well. And if you're an LSU fan, you should want this as well. Okay. You don't want playoff expansion if you're an LSU fan. You just don't, right? For this simple reason. Nick Saban's going to beat your tail down if you play neutral site games. He just normally does. He's just better in January than most coaches, right? Now, we could have a Joe Burrow or a Deshaun Watson level player, and it won't matter. But the likelihood of that is very little now because, Alabama normally has that level of player at quarterback now themselves. You don't want an expanded. I would rather just beat Bama once in the regular season. We've played them in the postseason, and you saw what happens when Nick Saban has time to prepare for you, right? It's true. Rob's a little bit behind. Yeah, there's a lot of LSU fans in Arkansas. A lot. What would make college football, well, in South Arkansas, there is. What would make college football great is rank all the undefeated teams first, then teams with losses follow. All right. And I do agree with this, Blake. Strength of schedule matters too. It does. So Blake's response to this is my response to this from Duda Ricks is then if you do that, you're not going to have Ohio State's and Oregon scheduled in the non-conference. That's what we want. We want teams to incentivize playing good teams in the non-conference. Florida State versus LSU was a good matchup for college football. Two iconic brands going against each other. That's good. Clemson, Georgia to start this season was good for college football. So, I don't think that this would be a good thing. I like your thought process, and in theory, it would make sense, but the nature of college football won't allow that, right? He does sip G, but we have a better chance in the middle of the season than the playoffs. We just do. All right. What's up, Britt? All right, guys. We're going ahead and so if Oregon and Ohio State both win out, you're ranking Oregon ahead of Ohio State? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Especially considering the worst decision the playoff ever made was last year. Okay? They should have put Cincinnati in over Ohio State last year. Okay? Ohio State should have never been in a playoff with having only played 6 freaking games. That would have been a scar on the sport if Ohio State would have won a national championship having only played 6 games last year. Okay? But no, Oregon should be ahead of Ohio State if they played head-to-head. Okay? The game has to count. It does. So yeah. So if we have any other super chats, let me know. Let's see. Chris, what's good? I talked about them a little bit earlier. About Dave Rand a little bit earlier. I would like it. I would. Obviously, a big question would be, would Jeff Grimes come too? I would guess he would. So yeah. I think last year would have been the year to put Cincy in, right? We had a weak number 4 in Notre Dame. Ohio State shouldn't even have been in the discussion, having only played 6 games. And their 6 wins were not impressive wins by any stretch of the imagination. Ohio State's gotten more playoff luck than anybody, really. So yeah, we'll do some rapid fire questions, or if someone does super chat, we'll keep the live chat moving, right? If somebody does super chat, I'll keep the live chat going all night. Those aren't my rules. Those are Hey-Hey's rules. As you guys know, I don't make the rules around here. Well, all right. Thanks again to our top super chatter of the night, King Robert. Also, Jared, Jason, Danielle, President Cliff, all our super chatters tonight. Man, we had some really good super chats tonight. Van, the list goes on and on. It really was special. So, yeah, thank you for helping pay my rent. Every time we do super chat, that's how I do make most of my money, is on these live streams. So I really do appreciate it. Once again, friendly reminder, no halftime, or I want to try and do a post game on Saturday night. I do have a scheduled event that was scheduled months ago. And it's something that I could not do. Great show tonight. Let's go. Go Braves. I don't think you can hire a coach before early signing day. I just don't think you can. And it does help that we have a really good 2021 class. And that should help some of that. And the portal is always going to be lit. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for today's fun live stream. Don't forget, you can check out some of our videos. We'll have another video up tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central. It'll probably be LSU head coach related. So we will see you then. It is. That was kind of loud, huh? Right into the mic. I don't know. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Rodney, appreciate you, man. We'll see you pregame. Alabama. Let's go.